Hi everyone, Antoine Fantoine here. You know who it is. Before we get into this review, I wanted to tell you in this quick little intro that my next few metal reviews are being sponsored by an up-and-coming YouTube channel started by musician and documentary filmmaker Mr. Sam Dunn. The channel is Banger TV, and it features documentaries, uncut interviews with some of the biggest names in metal. So if you are a metal enthusiast, a metal fan, a metalhead, this channel dives into the genre quite deeply. Many different subgenres explored, the mainstream as well as underground artists discussed and featured is the word I want to use. Featured. So you can check out the URL to the channel down there in the description, and it is also listed right here on the screen right now. So check them out. You're the best. The review. Hi everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Kylesa album, Exhausting Fire, which I swear to you has nothing to do with the Hunger Games series. These guys are a Savannah, Georgia rock band, and they sit on the heavier side of the spectrum. This is their 7th full-length LP, and in the 2000s, after a series of kind of rough initial releases, the band hit a pretty nice stride with records like Spiral Shadow and Static Tension and Time Will Fuse Its Worth. Pummeling, heavy, savage sludge metal records with tons of meaty riffs, primal drums, and the ferocity that you would expect from a punk album, despite the musicianship and just the girth and the weight of a metal record. Not as progressive as Mastodon, or as poppy and instantaneously catchy as a band like Torch, but the psychedelic undertones that worked themselves into some of the band's songs set them apart pretty nicely, as well as singer Laura Pleasance. Moving to current day, the band has been having a tough time keeping things exciting in this new decade. They had a kind of B-sides, just sort of, vault track album compilation thing get released. The next full-length album they put out sort of embraced those softer, more easygoing, more psychedelic aspects of the band's music, and it just was not as hard-hitting and didn't really bring that much in the way of new sounds or ideas to the table. Obviously, the band is trying to redefine themselves in this new decade and not paint themselves into this really aggressive, loud, booming corner. Now, there are 11 tracks on this thing, nothing too long or too short. They are continuing to lean on the watery, psychedelic layers of guitars that were so prevalent on their last record. And also a lot of these very eerie and cleanly sung vocals that are just elongated and beckoning, which might seem familiar at this point, but I personally think that things have improved on the instrumental side of things. The softer and spacier rock passages on this record are a lot more melodic and flavorful. Definitely more engaging and about as interesting as the crushing riffs that appear on the more aggressive half of this album. On that end, nothing all too new here, but Kylesa's very heavy and meaty riffs continue to wow me and at least get my blood pumping. But the band really does start to try new things, like on the song Blood Moon. We have all these echoed guitars, and then all of a sudden these guitars are backed up by what sounds like alto sax or some kind of woodwind or some sort. It's actually very pretty. And the really sinister guitars that follow this moment in the song seems like a bit of a doom metal throwback. There are actually quite a few subtle spots in the music here that I think are great. And the moments on this record that are heavy, they don't always just beat you over the head with their heaviness. Sometimes there's really a build up to that point of intensity, sort of like on the songs Out of My Mind and Night Drive and Shaping the Southern Sky. The song Moving Day definitely stood out to me as strange. It actually strikes me as kind of a shoegaze ballad, especially with the very listless, light singing that is kind of weaved into the layers of psychedelic, heavy, drony guitars on this track. Seems like a fusion between really just a sludge metal band and My Bloody Valentine. So elements of psych rock do show up here. Sludge metal, old school doom metal, as well as shoegaze. However, I will say the last track kind of lost me. It's this really slow and patience-testing cover of Black Sabbath's Paranoid. One of the band's more visceral tracks, but Kylesa decides to play it real slow. But I can't really say I cared for this revision, honestly. Musically, I think it's a really solid record. However, like the last album, I do have some issues with the vocals. The clean singing on this album, it's just not that exciting most of the time. And it's mixed so low that the guitars are smothering it. The vocals just don't really have that much presence, and a lot of the time they just seem kind of emotionless and faint. Like on the song Shaping the Southern Sky, where on here, to me, Laura sounds like a slow motion Debbie Harry. Though I will say there are exceptions on here. I find her singing on the intro track here kind of expressive and sort of bringing that chill that I know her very eerie vocal delivery is trying to bring. And on the song Growing Roots, the lead and the background vocals, it's like Kylesa wanted to put a bunch of vocal tracks into the song but didn't want to bring the space for these vocals, so they just kind of mush together in this really unpleasant way. And also, is that tambourine in the background in this track? Is that a freaking tambourine in this track? I've not heard a tambourine in this kind of song before. It was strange. Overall, though, I think there's a lot to like about this record. I think the guitars and the drums are produced really well. I think the riffs are great. I think a lot of the guitar leads and the solos are fantastic. The performances are nice. There's a lot of kinetic energy here. The band is tight. There are plenty of musical bright spots here and a few risks and different musical experiments, but the vocals just aren't really where they could be, I think. However, it does not ruin the album. I'm feeling a light, decent 7 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this record a listen? If you have, did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Kylesa, forever.